Since when do they let broke walk up to the big girl counter?
4,200, account ending 7421.
Brittany fanned the hundreds under her nose and gagged.
Girl, this cash smells like the block it came from.
She flung the whole stack, bills scattered across the marble like trash.
Now crawl back to the check cashing place.
12 people heard every word.
With the rest of your kind.
Nobody moved. Adrian didn't pick up a single bill. She just stood there, perfectly still, while the manager walked to his computer and pulled up her account. He got 3 lines in. His mouse stopped moving. His face went white. What he saw on that screen didn't just end Brittany's career. It shut down the entire branch. 30 minutes earlier, Adrian Whitfield stood in her kitchen counting cash on the island counter. The morning light came through the window and hit a framed photograph on the wall. Janelle Whitfield, 1987. A nurse's uniform and a smile that could warm a whole room. Adrian's mother had worn that smile every single day for 41 years, even on the bad ones. The cash sat in a neat stack, $4,200. Next to it, a notarized appraisal from Holloway Jewelers. 1 wedding set, gold and diamond, seller Adrian L. Whitfield. Next to that, a manila folder with a handwritten label. Janelle Whitfield Memorial Scholarship. Deposit memo. These were her mother's wedding rings. Turned into money. Turned into something that would send a kid to college. That was the plan. Simple. Clean. 1 deposit and the scholarship account would be live by Monday. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Senator Vivian Lattimore. Press conference is still Monday at 9. You ready, Madam President? Adrian smiled. Almost. I want 1 more branch visit before the announcement. Unannounced. Jeans and a coat. No cameras, no title. Lattimore paused. Which branch? 0419, Cleveland Heights. A long silence. That branch has been on my list for 2 years, Adrian. Be careful what you find. Adrian opened the kitchen drawer. She pulled out her Meridian Federal Bank Corp executive lanyard. The badge read, President, Consumer Banking. She folded it and tucked it deep into the inside pocket of her navy coat. Then she slipped a small OCC compliance reviewer's badge into her wallet behind her driver's license. She didn't want them to see her title. She wanted them to see her. A black woman with an envelope of cash. Nothing more. She grabbed the manila envelope, locked the front door, and drove. Gospel radio played low. The envelope sat on the passenger seat. At a red light, she touched it once, like a prayer. Branch 0419 looked the same as every branch she had audited in her career. Marble veneer, dusty plastic plants, a faded poster by the entrance that read, Community First, in letters nobody believed anymore. She pushed through the glass door. A security guard near the entrance nodded. His name tag said Wendell Briggs. Retired Army, she guessed from the posture. He looked at her for a second longer than normal. Then his hand moved to a small device on his chest. A body camera. He clicked it on. The red light blinked once. She didn't know why he did that. She would find out later. Inside, the lobby had the usual Friday afternoon energy. A young loan officer named Hannah Riley glanced up from her desk, then back down at her screen. An old white man in a corduroy jacket stood in line with a deposit slip. Earl Jensen, 78 years old. He was holding his phone up, doing a Facebook Live for his grandkids. 14 viewers. Hey, babies, Grandpa's at the bank. Watch me forget my PIN again. Adrian smiled and took her place in line. In front of her, a young black mother with a toddler on her hip stood at window 3. She was trying to deposit $60. The teller behind the glass, a blonde woman with a tight smile and a name placard that read Brittany Voss, was asking for a second form of ID. For $60. The mother sighed, dug through her purse, and handed over her electric bill. Brittany took it with 2 fingers. The mother turned and left without a word. The toddler waved at nobody. Brittany rolled her eyes, loud enough for the whole lobby to hear. Next! Adrian stepped forward. Adrian slid the deposit slip across the counter, then the appraisal certificate, then her driver's license, then the envelope of cash. I'd like to deposit $4,200 into account ending 7421, please. Brittany looked at the license, then at Adrian, then at the cash. Her smile turned into something hard. $4,200. In cash. Yes, with a notarized appraisal. It's from the sale of jewelry. Brittany tapped her keyboard, stared at the screen, tapped again. She glanced toward the back office, then looked at Adrian the way someone looks at a stain on the carpet. I'm going to need to ask you some questions. Standard procedure. She said it loud enough for the whole line to hear. Go ahead. Where exactly did you get this money? I sold my mother's wedding rings. The appraisal is right in front of you. Brittany didn't look at it. How do I know this appraisal is even real? It's notarized, from a licensed jeweler. The address is on the letterhead. Uh-huh. You got accounts at other banks? That's not relevant to this deposit. Brittany leaned forward. You said this is for a memorial account. Memorial for who exactly? The way she said it. Like the word memorial had quotation marks around it. My mother. Her name was Janelle. Right, Janelle. Brittany picked up the appraisal slip with 2 fingers. She looked at it the way you look at a flyer someone hands you on the street. Then she set it down and turned to the teller at the next window. She didn't whisper. She didn't even try. Ange, can you tell Greg we got another one? Another one. The words landed on the lobby like a brick through glass. The old man with the phone, Earl Jensen, raised it 1 inch higher. His viewer count ticked from 14 to 23. Wendell, the security guard, shifted his weight. His body camera now had a direct line to window 3. Hannah Riley, the loan officer at the side desk, looked up. Her hands stopped typing. Adrian's voice stayed level. Excuse me, another one? Brittany ignored her. She slapped the cash into the counting tray, then picked up the whole stack and fanned it out over the counter like she was dealing cards onto a dirty table. Bills slipped off the edge. 1 floated to the floor. Oops. Adrian did not move. She did not bend down. In the back office, a door opened. Greg Halloran walked out. 51 years old, polo shirt tight across his gut, a smile that looked like it had been practiced in a bathroom mirror. Ma'am, how about we step into my office? Just a few compliance questions. I'd prefer to stay right here, at the counter, in front of everyone. Greg's smile flickered. He looked at the cash on the floor. He looked at Brittany. He looked at the 12 people watching from the line. Have it your way. He turned and walked back to his desk, pulled up her account, and his face changed. Greg disappeared into his office. The door stayed half open. Brittany didn't notice. She was too busy enjoying herself. She looked at Adrian the way a cat looks at something it has already decided to kill. You know what? I changed my mind. I'm not processing this. Adrian's hands stayed flat on the counter. I'd like to speak with your manager. He's busy, and I'm telling you right now, this transaction is not going through. Not today, not at my window. On what grounds? Brittany leaned in, close enough that Adrian could smell the vanilla body spray. On the grounds that I have a feeling, and my feeling says this cash didn't come from selling jewelry. My feeling says somebody like you doesn't have $4,000 unless something shady is going on. She shoved the envelope across the counter, hard. It hit Adrian's hand, and the bills inside spilled out. Hundreds slid across the marble and off the edge. 1 landed face up on the floor between them. The lobby stopped breathing. Earl Jensen's phone was steady now. No more joking with his grandkids. His viewer count climbed. 41. then 112, then 318. "Y'all seeing this?" he whispered. "Y'all seeing this right now?" Wendell stepped closer to window 3. He didn't touch anything, didn't say a word, just stood where his body camera could catch everything. Hannah Riley rose halfway out of her chair, sat back down. Then she did something nobody saw. She opened her email, selected the last 3 months of internal incident reports from window 3, and forwarded every single one to her personal Gmail. Brittany wasn't done. Greg still hadn't come back. She thought she still had cover. "Let me break this down for you, since you seem confused. You don't just walk in here with a wad of cash and a sad story about your dead mama and expect us to just take it." A woman in line covered her mouth. The toddler's mother pulled her child closer. "We have rules. We have anti-money laundering protocols. This isn't the corner store, sweetheart. You can't just show up looking like that with an envelope full of cash and think nobody's going to ask questions." "Looking like what?" Adrian's voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. Brittany smiled. "You know exactly what I mean." The lobby knew too. Every single person in that line knew exactly what she meant. Adrian looked at the bills on the floor. She bent down, slowly. She picked up $100 bill, smoothed it with her fingers, set it on the counter. Then another, and another. Bill by bill, in perfect silence, while every person in that lobby watched. "I am picking up my mother's wedding rings off your floor, Brittany. That is your name on the placard. And every single person in this room is going to remember exactly what that looked like." Earl's viewer count jumped. 1,140, then 4,300, then 11,800. His hand trembled, but the phone stayed still. "Lord have mercy," he whispered. "My grandbabies are not going to believe this." The young mother with the toddler started crying. Quiet tears. She didn't even wipe them. She just held her child and watched. Then the back office door swung open. Greg Halloran stood in the doorway. He was not smiling anymore. His face had no color left in it. His hand gripped the door frame like it was holding him upright. "Brittany, my office, now." She spun around, still riding the high. "Greg, relax. I'm handling it. She's—" "Now!" The word cut the air. Not loud, not angry. Terrified. Brittany blinked. She looked at Greg's face. Something was wrong. Something she couldn't place. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She walked to the office. The door closed behind her. The lobby stood frozen. 12 people, 3 cameras, 1 live stream with 11,800 viewers, and a timestamp that read 3:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And somewhere behind that closed door, Greg Halloran was staring at a screen that had just rearranged his entire understanding of who was standing at window 3. His hands were shaking, and Brittany had no idea why. Not yet. Behind the half-closed door, Brittany was still talking. "Greg, I don't see what the big deal is. She walks in here with a fat envelope of cash and some story about her dead mother's rings? Come on, you've seen this before. I was doing my job." Greg wasn't looking at her. He was looking at the screen. "Read it." "Read what?" He pointed at the monitor. His finger was trembling. Brittany leaned in. The screen showed the standard customer profile: name, address, account tier, photo ID on file, internal flags. Account holder, Whitfield Adrian L. Customer tier, private wealth, tier 0, executive. Internal flag number 1, do not question transactions, refer to regional compliance. Internal flag number 2, employee of record, Bancorp Holdings. Internal flag number 3, OCC liaison, branch audit program active. And a photo. Adrian, in a dark suit, standing beside the CEO of Meridian Federal Bank Corp. Taken at the Treasury Department. Brittany's mouth opened. No sound came out. Greg's voice was barely a whisper. That woman you just threw cash at? That's the new president of consumer banking. She starts Monday. She is our boss's boss.
Brittany grabbed the desk.
The press release didn't have a picture. There's a picture on the internal portal, Brittany. We had a mandatory training email about her on Tuesday. You signed the acknowledgement. The color drained out of Brittany's face like water from a cracked glass. She sat down without meaning to. The chair rolled back and hit the wall. Out in the lobby, Adrian was calmly stacking the last of the hundreds back into the manila envelope. Her movements were slow, deliberate. She wasn't performing. She was letting the silence do its work. Then she reached into her coat pocket, pulled out the lanyard, laid it flat on the counter. The badge faced up. Adrian L. Whitfield, President, Consumer Banking, Meridian Federal Bank Corp. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Hannah stood up at her desk. Her hand went to her mouth. Oh my God. A man in line leaned forward and squinted at the badge. Wait, that's the Adrian Whitfield? From the Treasury? Earl Jensen zoomed in with his phone. His live stream viewer count jumped. 11,800 to 26,400. His voice cracked. Lord have mercy. Babies, I think this woman is somebody. Through the cracked office door, Brittany could see the lanyard on the counter. She could see the gold letters on the badge. She could see the lobby staring at it. Her knees gave out. She stayed in the chair. Greg picked up the desk phone. His voice broke halfway through the sentence. This is Halloran, branch 0419. I need regional. Right now. We have a situation. By 3:29 p.m., a viewer had clipped the moment Adrian set the lanyard down, posted it to TikTok. By 5 o'clock that evening, it had 2.1 million views, and Adrian was already looking at Greg through the open door. She said one sentence. My deposit will be made. And then we're going to talk about the 17 other women I've already heard from. 17 other women. Brittany didn't even know what that meant yet, but she was about to. The first call came at 3:42 p.m. Regional Vice President Doug Pritchard pulled into the branch 0419 parking lot, driving 15 miles over the speed limit. His suit jacket was misbuttoned. His tie was crooked. He walked through the glass doors like a man entering a building he expected to be on fire. Ms. Whitfield, let's step into the conference room, somewhere private. Adrian didn't move from the counter. I'll stay right here, Doug, at the window where it happened. Pritchard opened his mouth, closed it, nodded. By 3:55 p.m., the communications department at Meridian Federal Bank Corp headquarters had drafted a statement. Adrian read it on her phone while standing at window 3. An isolated incident involving one teller's poor judgment does not reflect our values. Appropriate action is being taken. She handed the phone back to Pritchard. Rewrite it, and lose the word isolated. By 4:10 p.m., Brittany Voss was placed on administrative leave with pay. She walked out the side door of the branch with her purse over her shoulder and her eyes on the ground. The local NBC affiliate was already set up in the parking lot. She didn't stop. By 4:30 p.m., Greg Halloran stood in front of a camera on the sidewalk outside his own branch. His eyes were red. His hands were in his pockets. Brittany made a mistake. A serious mistake. We've addressed it. Meridian Federal does not tolerate this kind of behavior. A reporter stepped forward. Mr. Halloran, did you know Ms. Whitfield was black before you pulled up her account? Greg blinked. His mouth moved, but nothing came out. The cameraman held the shot for 6 full seconds. That clip went viral on its own. Greg Halloran, blinking. 6 seconds of silence that said more than any press release ever could. By 7 p.m., the hashtag "Whose else was it happening to" was trending nationally. But the spin had already started. A right-leaning podcast host jumped in first. Let's slow down here. $4,200 in cash is a red flag under AML rules. The teller was aggressive, sure, but was she wrong to question it? A finance influencer on YouTube followed. Look, the protocol is the protocol. Just because she turned out to be an executive doesn't mean the teller didn't have a right to ask. Then came the political angle. This is a DEI stunt. A politically connected executive engineers a confrontation to push an agenda. Adrienne sat in her car in the bank parking lot at 6 p.m., engine off, windows up. She hadn't eaten since breakfast. She called Senator Lattimore. They're making it about the protocol, Viv. Then make it about who the protocol gets used on. Pull the data. Show them the pattern. At 6:30 p.m., Earl Jensen went live again from his kitchen. He was holding a framed photo of his late wife. I was raised in Mississippi. I know what I saw today. That young lady behind the counter wasn't following protocol. She was doing something else. And every black person watching this right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. 4.7 million views by midnight. At 7 p.m., Wendell Briggs posted a single audio clip from his body camera to a community Facebook group. Brittany's voice, clear as glass. Can you tell Greg we got another one? Another one. Within an hour, the comments started pouring in. 11 women, 2 men, 8 of them black, 2 Latina, 1 Vietnamese, 1 elderly white woman who had tried to deposit her Section 8 voucher refund. All of them had stories about Window 3. All of them had been told they were a problem. All of them had walked away in silence. Until now. At 7:45 p.m., Hannah Riley sat on the floor of her apartment with a glass of wine and her laptop open to her personal Gmail. She stared at the 3 months of internal incident reports she had forwarded to herself that afternoon. 47 reports. 1 window, 1 teller. She had seen the numbers before, but tonight, for the first time, she saw the pattern. She opened a new email, typed the address she had found on the Bancorp internal directory. Subject line, Branch 0419. Ms. Whitfield, I work at the branch. I have something you need to see. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she hit send. That email would change everything. But Adrienne wouldn't open it until morning. 6 o'clock Saturday morning. Adrienne sat at the same kitchen island where she had counted her mother's cash 24 hours earlier. But the island looked different now. 3 laptops open, 2 phones charging, a yellow legal pad with handwriting so tight it could have been typed. The OCC compliance badge clipped to the collar of her sweatshirt. Senator Lattimore was on speaker. OCC is already drafting a matter requiring attention. You won't even have to push. But Adrienne, if you want this to stick, you need to bring the pattern, not the story. The pattern. I know. She opened her personal email first. Hannah Riley's message sat at the top. Subject line, Branch 0419. She clicked it. Inside was a folder, 47 internal incident reports, 3 months, 1 branch, all from Window 3. Adrienne opened them one by one. She started a spreadsheet, color-coded, column by column. Name, date, transaction type, amount. Race noted on the report where available. Outcome. It took her 2 hours to get through all 47. When she was done, she leaned back in her chair and stared at the screen. Customers flagged for additional verification. 73% Black or Latino. Cash deposits over $2,000 questioned. 89% Black or Latino. Customers asked for a second form of ID for deposits under $200. 100% Black or Latino women, every single one. And window 3 specifically, Brittany Voss's window. It accounted for 81% of all informal hold tickets in the entire branch. Adrian built a chart. Simple bar graph. The bars weren't even close. It looked like a before and after photo of something broken. But branch 0419 was only the beginning. She logged into the Bancorp regional portal using her incoming executive credentials. The system didn't know she hadn't officially started yet. The access was already live. She pulled the informal hold data for every branch in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. The same pattern, over and over. Branch 0211, Cleveland East. Branch 0376, Akron Goodyear. Branch 0418, Cleveland Heights South. Branch 0512, Toledo. 17 branches total, all with statistically impossible informal hold rates targeting Black customers. She went deeper, pulled the email archives. April 11th, 2023. Greg Halloran to Doug Pritchard. Brittany's a little aggressive on AML, but she catches stuff. We'll counsel her. No counseling was ever documented. September 2nd, 2023. Anonymous internal complaint about Window 3. Filed. Reviewed. Closed. No action. February 19th, 2024. Doug Pritchard to Corporate Compliance. Branch 0419 numbers look fine. No action recommended. August 30th, 2024. Customer complaint number 2241. Escalated. Closed with a $50 goodwill credit. And a letter. Adrian opened the letter. It was a non-disclosure agreement. They had paid the woman $50 and made her sign away her right to talk about what happened. $50 to shut a Black woman's mouth. Adrian's hands tightened around her coffee mug. She set it down before she cracked it. Then she found the money trail. A line item in the regional budget. Customer accommodation credits. $214,000 over 3 years. She pulled the detail. 91% of the credits went to Black customers. All of them from branches on her list. All of them paired with NDA letters. They had built a system, not just a culture, not just a bad attitude, not just one teller with a problem. A system. Flag the customer, question the cash, create a complaint, close the complaint, pay the customer off, make them sign, move on to the next one. At 8 o'clock, she called the OCC directly. The federal review she had been quietly co-leading for 6 months went formal. Subpoenas for footage and records from all 17 branches. By end of day. At 10 o'clock, Hannah Riley knocked on Adrian's front door. She was carrying a box of printed binders, 47 reports, color-coded, indexed, sticky notes on every page. Her hands were shaking. Ms. Whitfield, if they find out it was me, they will find out, and you will be protected, and you will be the reason this stops. Hannah's eyes filled up. Adrian poured her a cup of coffee and pulled out a chair. At 11:30, Adrian sat down with a Washington Post reporter. She didn't release the chart, didn't mention the budget line item, didn't show the NDA letters. Lattimore had told her the night before. You drop the receipt on camera, in the hall, not in print. Make them watch. By 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon, the story had jumped beyond Adrian entirely. A retired Black federal judge posted on Facebook, "This happened to me at branch 0376 in 2022. I assumed it was just me." An ER nurse in Toledo. Branch 0419, 2023. They told me my paycheck looked suspicious. I'm a nurse. I work 60 hours a week. A Black college freshman at Ohio State. They wouldn't cash my financial aid refund check. My white roommate walked in 10 minutes later with the same check from the same school, cleared in 2 minutes. The hashtag Window3 started trending on its own. The story wasn't about Adrian anymore. It was about everyone who had stood at that counter and been made to feel like they didn't belong. Then, at 4:17 p.m., Adrian's phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. Stop, or Monday gets very ugly for you. She stared at the screen for a long time. She didn't tell Hannah. She didn't call Lattimore. She screenshot the message, forwarded it to the OCC investigator, and set the phone face down on the counter. Somebody was scared. Good. Sunday morning. The counter-narrative hit like a coordinated strike. An anonymous source leaked a story to 3 outlets at once. The headline was almost identical on each one. Meridian Federal's new hire, executive or activist? The article called Adrian's appointment a diversity quota. No named sources, no evidence, just the implication, repeated enough times to feel true. Then the doctored screenshot surfaced. An email supposedly sent by Adrian to a junior staffer at the Treasury Department. Rude, dismissive, the kind of tone that makes people say, "See, she's no better than anyone else." It spread through Twitter in under an hour. A former Treasury colleague debunked it within 2 hours. The font was wrong. The email header used a format the department had abandoned in 2019. But by then the damage was already out there. Corrections never travel as fast as lies. At noon, Greg Halloran's wife posted a video on Facebook. She was sitting at her kitchen table, eyes swollen, voice breaking. "My husband is a good man. He has given 22 years to this bank, 22 years. And now one woman walks in with a camera crew and a chip on her shoulder, and they want to destroy our family." No camera crew, no chip, but 800,000 people watched the video, and the sympathy started to shift. Brittany's mother went on the local evening news. "My daughter was following the rules. She was trained to ask questions when someone brings in that much cash. She's being scapegoated because the woman turned out to be somebody important. What about all the times when it's nobody important? Nobody cares then." The comments section split in half. One side screaming justice, the other side screaming witch hunt. At 3 p.m., Hannah called Adrian. Her voice was thin and tight. "Someone keyed my car. In my apartment parking lot. There was a note under the wiper. It said snitch." Adrian closed her eyes. "Did you take a photo?" "Yes." "Send it to me. Then send it to the OCC investigator. Don't touch the note. We'll need it." At 5 p.m., Adrian's phone rang. A Bank Corp board member named Howard Jeffries. His voice was smooth and careful, the way people sound when they're about to ask you to lose quietly. "Adrian, listen. Nobody is questioning what happened. But maybe we soften the approach. Maybe the press conference becomes a private meeting. The optics right now." "The optics, Howard, are the 17 branches, not the woman in the navy coat." She hung up. At 6 p.m., the Janelle Whitfield Memorial Scholarship website went dark. Denial of service attack. The Monday press conference registration page vanished with it. Adrian sat at her desk, staring at the blank screen where her mother's name used to be. She called her IT contact and asked them to restore it. Then she shut the laptop. At 11:47 p.m., she was sitting in her car in the parking garage of her office building. Engine off, lights off. The manila envelope on the passenger seat. She opened it and pulled out the appraisal slip. Holloway Jewelers. 1 wedding set. Gold and diamond. She closed her eyes, and her mother was there. 8-year-old Adrian on her lap at the kitchen table, a pile of coins between them. Janelle's voice, patient and warm. "You counted twice, baby. Always. Once for them, once for you." Adrian pressed her forehead to the steering wheel. One tear rolled down. She didn't wipe it. Her phone rang. Lattimore. Adrian, tomorrow you walk in as a president, not a victim. Don't carry this alone. They're trying to turn my mother into a prop, Viv. Then make her the witness. Walk in with her name on your lips. Adrian drove home. At 2 a.m., she sat at the kitchen island with one lamp on and rewrote the entire press conference speech from scratch. The new opening line read, "My name is Adrian Whitfield. I am the daughter of Janelle Whitfield, a black woman who counted her cash twice every Friday for 41 years. She read it out loud to the empty room, then again, then once more to the photograph on the wall. It was enough. Monday, 6 a.m. The doorbell rang. Adrian hadn't slept more than 2 hours. She was standing in the kitchen in sweatpants and her mother's old cardigan, coffee in hand, when the bell cut through the silence. She opened the door. Wendell Briggs stood on her front porch, full security guard uniform, body camera clipped to his chest, a small black USB drive in his outstretched hand. "Ma'am, I've been waiting 6 months to give this to somebody who could do something with it." She looked at the drive, then at him. "What's on it?" Everything. They sat at the kitchen island. Adrian plugged the drive into her laptop. 6 months of body camera footage, audio files, time-stamped, dated, indexed by hand in a simple text document Wendell had typed himself. She clicked the first file. Brittany's voice, clear as daylight. "Can you tell Greg we got another one?" That was Friday, Adrian's day, but it wasn't the only one. She clicked the next file. Same phrase, different day, different customer. Another one. She clicked again, and again, and again. 11 times across 6 months, 11 different black customers, the same 2 words every time. Then she found the file labeled March 14th. Greg Halloran's voice, recorded through the thin wall of his office while Wendell stood outside the door. "Look, if she's bringing in cash and we're not sure, we make her sure. That's how we keep the branch clean. Make her sure." Adrian played it twice to make sure she heard it right. There was more. A clip from April. Greg telling a young black father that his child support payment looked suspicious. The father asked what that meant. Greg said, "It means I need you to explain yourself before I process this." The father left without depositing. A clip from May. Brittany and another teller laughing after a black customer walked out. "Did you see her face? She really thought she was going to deposit that." Adrian closed the laptop. She put her hand over her mouth and sat there for a long time. "Wendell, why didn't you report this?" Wendell looked at the floor, then at her. His eyes were steady, but tired. "Ms. Whitfield, I'm a 64-year-old black security guard. I make $16 an hour. Who exactly was going to believe me? I've been recording for 6 months because I knew no one would listen to me. I was waiting for somebody they couldn't ignore." The kitchen went quiet. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of 2 people understanding each other completely. Adrian stood up. She hugged him. He didn't expect it. His arms stayed at his sides for a second before he hugged her back. "Today, Mr. Briggs, you are believed." At 7 o'clock, Hannah arrived with 2 printed binders under her arm. 47 reports, color-coded, indexed, every page flagged with a sticky note. She had been up all night organizing them. At 7:30, the OCC investigator, Felicia Marston, knocked on the door. She carried 2 federal subpoenas and a sealed brown envelope. She sat down at the kitchen island, opened the envelope, and spread a printout across the counter. "Adrian, we pulled the regional data last night. Your 17 branches? It's not 17. It's 23. 3 more surfaced in West Virginia overnight." 23 branches. 7 years of records, and every single one running the same pattern. At 8 o'clock, the allies started arriving from places Adrian hadn't expected. The Cleveland NAACP released a statement offering legal representation to every victim who came forward, free of charge, no conditions. 7 black female bank executives at competing institutions published a joint op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. This is not one bank. This is not one teller. This is an industry-wide pattern of suspicion directed at black customers. We are demanding a federal audit of informal hold practices at every FDIC-insured bank in the country. The retired black federal judge from Ohio, who had posted on Facebook 2 days earlier, called Adrian directly. "I'll testify, on camera, under oath, wherever you need me." Earl Jensen showed up at the press conference venue at 8:15, carrying a piece of cardboard with black marker on it. The sign read, "77 years old. I saw it. I believe her." By 8:30, Adrian was dressed. Simple charcoal suit, white silk blouse, her mother's small gold cross at her collar, the manila envelope in her hand. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror and looked at herself for a long time. Then she answered the question that had been hanging since the opening seconds of this story. 3 cameras had been rolling on Friday afternoon. Camera 1 was Earl Jensen's Facebook live stream. Camera 2 was Wendell Briggs's body camera. Camera 3 was the branch's own dome security camera, which Adrian, as incoming president, had every legal right to subpoena. But there was a 4th. Hannah Riley, sitting at her loan officer desk, had quietly hit record on her phone the moment Brittany said, "Another one." A backup recording nobody knew about. A second angle that matched the body camera audio perfectly. Triple verified, cross-referenced, federally indexed. The receipts were airtight, and in 1 hour, the whole country was going to see every single one of them. Adrian picked up the manila envelope, touched the corner of it, whispered to nobody and everybody at the same time. "Okay, Mama, let's go." She walked out the front door. The press conference was 60 minutes away, and Brittany Voss had just taken a seat in the back row of the press hall. Nobody knew she was there. Not yet. 8:55 Monday morning. The sidewalk outside Meridian Federal Bank Corp headquarters in downtown Cleveland was already packed. 400 people at first count. By 9:15, it would be 1,400. By 9:30, the crowd would spill off the sidewalk and into the street. Police would close the block. Helicopters would circle overhead. The signs came in every shape and color, hand-painted on cardboard, printed on poster board, scrawled in marker on the backs of grocery bags. Window 3 is every window. Believe black money. My mother's cash is not suspicious. I am Adrian Whitfield. One sign, held by a teenage girl in a Howard University sweatshirt, read simply, "Count it twice." That phrase had leaked late Sunday night. A friendly journalist had caught the line from Adrian's rewritten speech. It had spread through group chats and comment sections like fire through dry grass. By Monday morning, it was everywhere. The hashtag #CountItTwice became the umbrella. Underneath it, 26 women from across the country posted their own stories. Not just Meridian Federal, Chase, Wells Fargo, regional credit unions. A black dentist in Atlanta who was asked to prove her income before depositing her own paycheck. A Latina teacher in Phoenix whose cashier's check was held for 11 days. A retired black postal worker in Baltimore who was told her pension deposit didn't look right. The story had jumped the brand. This wasn't about one bank anymore. It was about every counter in every lobby in every city where someone who looked a certain way was treated like a threat. The mayor of Cleveland called for a municipal audit of bank licenses by 9 o'clock. 3 United States senators issued statements before 10. One of them was a Republican from Ohio. His statement said, "This isn't partisan. This is American." Inside the headquarters, the Bancorp board convened an emergency session. 3 directors resigned before the meeting started. The official reason was to focus on family priorities. The real reason was that the lawsuits were coming and they wanted their names off the letterhead before the subpoenas arrived. The CEO of Meridian Federal Bancorp, Maxwell Reinhold, stepped in front of cameras at 9:10. His statement was 4 sentences long. No hedging, no spin. What happened at Branch 0419 was not an isolated incident. It was a failure of leadership, culture, and oversight. We will not be defended. Adrienne Whitfield is leading the correction, and I serve at her direction on this matter. It was the rarest thing in corporate America, an apology without a but. At 9:12, a 19-year-old black college student named Talia Moss walked into Branch 0418 in Cleveland Heights South with a camera crew behind her. She placed a financial aid refund check for $1,100 on the counter. The teller looked at the cameras, looked at Talia, cashed the check in 90 seconds. Talia turned to the lens. It took a national scandal to cash an $1,100 check. Imagine what it takes when nobody's watching. 11 million views by noon. In the back row of the press hall inside Meridian Federal Headquarters, Brittany Voss sat with her phone in her lap. She started a live stream of her own. I'm being scapegoated. The rules are the rules. I did what I was trained to do. 4,000 hostile comments in 12 minutes. Her own union representative sent a single text. Stop posting. Outside, the crowd grew louder. Adrienne's car pulled up to the side entrance. She stepped out. The chanting started before her feet hit the pavement. Count it twice! Count it twice! Count it twice! Adrienne paused at the door, looked at the faces in the crowd, touched the manila envelope against her chest, whispered to the morning air, Mama, you wanted to be counted. They're counting. Then she walked inside. 9:30 Monday morning. The press conference hall on the 4th floor of Meridian Federal Bancorp headquarters. Standing room only. 10 cameras lined the back wall. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, NBC, local affiliates shoulder to shoulder. Print reporters packed the side aisles with notebooks and recorders. The room hummed with the low buzz of people who knew they were about to witness something, but didn't yet know what. Adrienne walked to the podium. She laid the manila envelope on the lectern, the same envelope from Friday, the same one she had carried from her kitchen to the car to the counter to the floor and back again. The front row recognized it. A murmur rolled through the hall. She adjusted the microphone, looked out at the room, found Earl Jensen standing against the far wall, his cardboard sign tucked under his arm. Found Hannah Riley in the second row, hands clasped tight in her lap. Found Wendell Briggs near the exit, body camera on, red light steady. Then she began. My name is Adrienne Whitfield. I am the daughter of Janelle Whitfield, a black woman who counted her cash twice every Friday for 41 years. The screen behind her lit up. A photograph of Janelle in her nurse's uniform, 1987. The smile that could warm a whole room. Today was supposed to be the announcement of my appointment as president of consumer banking at Meridian Federal Bancorp. It is still that, but it is also something else. She paused, let the silence build. On Friday afternoon at 3:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I walked into Branch 0419 and attempted to deposit $4,200 in cash. The proceeds from the sale of my late mother's wedding rings, into a memorial scholarship account bearing her name. The screen changed. Earl Jensen's live stream. the timestamp glowing in the corner, 3:14 p.m. I was questioned, I was insulted, and my mother's money was thrown across the counter and onto the floor like it was garbage. The screen changed again. The image froze on the moment the bills were mid-air, scattered across the marble, a child's shoe visible in the corner of the frame. The room gasped. Someone in the third row whispered, "Oh my God." Adrian let the image sit for 5 full seconds. Then she continued. This was not a mistake. This was not one teller having a bad day. This was a system. The screen shifted. A map. Red pins. 23 of them spread across Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. 23 branches, running the same pattern, for 7 years. The screen changed. The bar chart, 73%, 89%, 100%. The bars so lopsided they barely looked like they belonged on the same graph. Black and Latino customers flagged for additional verification at a rate of 7 to 1. The screen changed. Greg Halloran's email. Brittany's a little aggressive on AML, but she catches stuff. We'll counsel her. Known to regional management. Documented. And buried. The screen changed. The budget line item. Customer accommodation credits. $214,000. Settled quietly, using the bank's own money, paired with non-disclosure agreements designed to buy silence for $50 at a time. A reporter in the front row set her pen down. She stopped writing, just watched. And it was all captured. On 6 months of body camera footage recorded by a man named Wendell Briggs, who is here today. Wendell straightened up against the wall. The room turned. Then the applause started. It lasted 90 seconds. Wendell didn't move. He just nodded once. Adrian lifted a single sheet of paper from the lectern. This is a federal subpoena, signed this morning by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. 23 branches, 7 years of records. Every employee who ever processed an informal hold. The screen showed the seal, the signature, the date. Today's date. A reporter raised her hand. Ms. Whitfield, what about the teller, Brittany Voss? Is she here? Adrian looked past the cameras, past the reporters, to the back row. Ms. Voss, would you like to address the room? Every head turned, every camera swung. Brittany sat in the last row. Her face was white, her hands gripped the edges of her chair, her mouth opened. Nothing came out. 9 seconds. National television. Complete silence. 9 seconds that said everything her words never could. Adrian spoke again, gentle now, almost quiet. This is not about one teller. This is about a system that trained her, protected her, and paid to keep its victims quiet. That system ends today. She announced the remedies one by one. 23 branches under federally supervised audit. Every customer subjected to an informal hold in the past 7 years would receive a written apology and a $1,000 reparative deposit. Total cost, $11.4 million. Wendell Briggs would be promoted to Director of Branch Compliance Field Operations. Hannah Riley would lead a newly created Internal Whistleblower Protection Office. And the last one. The Janelle Whitfield Memorial Scholarship will be funded with $4.2 million from Meridian Federal Bancorp, 1,000 times the deposit my mother's rings were worth. The first scholarship will be awarded this fall. She picked up the manila envelope from the lectern, held it up so the room could see it. And this deposit, $4,200, account ending 7421, has been made. In full. As of this morning. She looked at the photograph of her mother on the screen behind her. Thank you, Mama. The hall went silent for 3 seconds. Then the applause hit like a wave. It didn't stop for 4 minutes. Outside, the chant rose through the windows and into the room. Count it twice! Count it twice! Count it twice! 2 weeks later, the world had moved on to the next headline. But the consequences hadn't. Brittany Voss was terminated. Her banking license was placed under formal review by the state of Ohio. A class action lawsuit naming her individually was filed on behalf of 31 former customers of Window 3. Greg Halloran accepted forced retirement. His golden parachute, 18 months of severance, was clawed back by a unanimous board vote. He didn't fight it. His lawyer told him it was the best deal he was going to get. Doug Pritchard resigned the day after the press conference. No statement, no interview. Just a letter and an empty office by noon. 3 corporate officers were placed under SEC investigation for the misuse of the $214,000 customer accommodation fund. 2 of them had signed the NDA letters personally. 4 of the 23 branches were closed pending full restructuring. The remaining 19 operated under federal oversight, with OCC monitors on site every day. The $11.4 million reparative deposit went out in batches. The first envelope arrived at the apartment of the young black mother with the toddler, the one who had been asked for 2 forms of ID to deposit $60. She opened it on her own live stream. Her hands shook. Her son reached for the paper. She held it up so the camera could see the number. Then she pressed it to her chest and cried. 2 weeks later, Adrian's kitchen. Morning light, cinnamon coffee, her mother's photograph on the wall. On the counter beside it, a printed letter. The first recipient of the Janelle Whitfield Memorial Scholarship, a black 18-year-old freshman at Spelman College named Imani Carter. The same girl who had been refused a financial aid refund cash-out the year before at a branch in Georgia. Adrian read the acceptance letter, smiled, tucked it into the manila envelope, and set it on the windowsill where the sun could reach it. Her phone buzzed. Senator Lattimore. A text. Senate Banking Subcommittee hearing scheduled for the 12th. They want you to testify. Adrian looked at her mother's photograph. One more, Mama. One more. She set the phone down, picked up her coffee, took a long, slow sip. Then her laptop chimed. A new email. No subject line. Unknown sender. She opened it. One attachment. A redacted internal document. Not from Meridian Federal. From a different bank entirely. One she recognized. One that was 3 times the size. The body of the email was one sentence. They're doing it too. And it's worse. Adrian stared at the screen, set her coffee down, and opened the file. The screen faded to black. Title card. Part 2. Coming soon. If you have ever been treated like a problem at a place where your money was already keeping the lights on, comment Window 3 below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, because Part 2 is the bank that thought nobody would ever find out. Share this with someone who needs to know they were not crazy, and tell them what Janelle taught her daughter. Count it twice. Once for them, once for you.
So Brittany threw that money like trash, but what she didn't know was that every bill she thought was about to bury her career, that branch, and the system that had been hiding for 7 years. But here the real questions this story leaves behind. Why did it take a president walking in for anyone to care? When the story for 6 months, Hannah had 47 reports on her screen. 11 women walked out of that branch in silence, and nobody moved. Not until the person at the counter turned out to be somebody they couldn't ignore. Adrian mothered the nails, taught her one thing: count it twice, once for them, once for you. That's what never about money. That's what about knowing your worth when the world is telling you you don't have any. So I need you to sit with this for a second. If Adrian didn't have that badge in your pocket, does this story even exist? Does anyone believe her? And how many people right now are standing at their own window free, with no badge, no title, no camera rolling, and just walking away? Tell me in the comments, have you ever had a moment where your presence was treated like a problem? Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe, because part 2, bigger bang, deeper cover up. Adrian just getting started. Count it twice, once for them, once for you.